Hey guys, this is my review for Banished. So in this game, you're basically creating like a population for a village, and then you want to try and sustain it for as long as possible, and basically just keep on growing your village and your population until it gets bigger and bigger, and building buildings to make resources and food and stuff to sustain all your people, and then you just try and survive for as long as possible. There's not really a main goal to this game or any sort of objective that you're meant to try and achieve. It's basically just a casual like simulation type of game where you just build and like try and have fun, I guess. Um, so basically, you got like main building sort of things, which is like food and woodcutters and stuff, which you're meant to build. And then you have to try and hold off against the elements like freezing to death and starving to death, which are your two main problems. And then to stop that, you can make stuff like clothes to keep you warm, or you can get a woodcutter to cut you logs of wood from your forester or from gathering trees, and then you can burn that inside your houses. You got two kinds of houses, which is stone houses and wood houses, and stone houses offer more warmth than wood houses, but the downside is that they cost more to build. So basically, you got to allocate your resources properly so that you can always keep enough for your population, and then you allocate your workers to different jobs that are being needed filled. And you also have to make tools to increase like your efficiency, and it's basically just a heap of things that you have to constantly be keeping an eye on. But the downside of this game, there's actually quite a few things I didn't quite like about it, which is basically that the buildings, there's not like a heap of buildings, there's just, I don't know, maybe 20 or 25-ish buildings that you can build. And then you basically just are continually rebuilding it. There's not really any upgrading or anything in this game. Once you get to a certain point, you're basically just playing like a waiting game until your population overgrows, and then you get like a giant starvation comes through your village, and then you basically lose. Or you have a heap of barbarians come to your village, and you invite them to live with you, and they eat all your food, and you starve to death. So there's not really a huge aspect to this game. There's no storyline, nothing like that. You're basically just chucked into a random map and sit there building. Probably, if there's a game similar to this, I'd probably say it would be SimCity, except SimCity does offer a lot more than this game. But obviously, this game is set in a different era, and that's probably one of the things I also didn't like about it, was that there's no evolution in this game. If they had made it that you could like move to like the industrial age or something, it would definitely make it a lot better. But then there are quite a lot of mods to this game, and I didn't really play around with any. But I do know that there's quite a few. There's also quite a lot to reduce the difficulty, because this game can be quite difficult, especially when you're first starting out. The tutorials don't really give you that much help. They just explain what all the different buildings do. They don't really explain a good strategy to build or anything like that. So if you do need a good strategy and you don't know how to play the game, you're going to have to look online for some help, or just try and work it out your own way like what I did. So probably the main difficulty in this game is just managing all your resources and your population. Basically, you just get mostly just focused on your wood and food, but barbarians and stuff and overpopulating and growing your population too fast make it a lot harder, and you got building. So basically, that's what you do for the entire game. There's not a whole lot of special things that happen. I don't even think there is anything special that happens in this game. There's no attacking, no wars. You can put natural disasters on, which cause like tornadoes and stuff to come through your village and kill you, which does make it a lot harder. They haven't really made anything to make the game that much easier. There is a difficulty setting, which I think is like easy, medium, or hard, which basically just changes your starting resources, but doesn't really change much of how the actual game runs. You can change the climate you're in from like harsh, mild, and normal, I think, or something like that, which basically just changes, I think, the rate your crops grow at, or something like that. And don't think it really changes that much. And you can also change the type of map you're in, like the size of it, or the kind of area, whether you're in like a plains or in a mountainous terrain sort of thing. I think I did play on a map which was mountainous, and I think I put it on like harshest with natural disasters and stuff for one of the achievements that they have on Steam to try and get at, and I thought it was pretty hard to get first time I tried. But I mean, once you play this game a couple of times, you kind of get used to how your village evolves, and then you can kind of work out which buildings you need to place in a certain order to just work out how to get a really good village, and then just slowly build it up. But the higher your village builds, the harder the game gets, because you start running out of room for your people to build, and then it just kind of dies out after a while, and then your population would drop really low, and basically when it gets too low, it's really hard to build them back up because your people can't really build out anywhere or anything, and they're just re-going back into the buildings which have already been used many times, and then you basically just end up with this constant cycle of your people just getting bigger and dying. But yeah, some improvements they could add would be adding obviously more ways for your buildings to evolve over time, perhaps some upgrade systems so you could increase your food production, or add irrigation to farms or something like that. They don't really offer anything like that in this game, which I think is one of the things that makes it harder, especially since I found that farms are really good for producing large amounts of food, but they don't really hold you over winter. Whereas if they had an upgrade system, they could increase the amount that you get, so then it would hold you over winter, especially when your population grows really largely over winter. It just is really annoying. Other things, they probably could add some sort of army thing, but then I guess they'd probably be moving into making this game more identical to a No, I think it's 1945 or something, which is probably another game that this is extremely similar to. But a No has combat features in the game, and it's quite old, so the graphics aren't as good as this, but the gameplay is probably more fun than this game. And there's also quite a lot more buildings in a No, I think. I haven't played it in quite a while, but I do remember having quite a lot of buildings, as well as trading and stuff like that. There is trading in this game, but I didn't really like it because you have to wait for boats to come to your city, and then everything's super expensive, and you have to have people bringing resources to your market, and basically you can order stuff, but it takes a while before it gets, and then it's even more expensive. So I didn't really like the trading that much in this game. Yeah, there's not really anything super exciting about this game that really made me want to play it for ages and ages. I think I did maybe 5 or 6 games, which took maybe 6 or 7 hours each, because I got to a couple hundred population before they started to die. But I mean, after a while, it just kind of gets quite boring, especially when there's not heaps of different things that you can do apart from the layout of your village. They really could add some more stuff. I mean, the mods are okay, but there's just community-made stuff. It's a lot more fun when you also get stuff that's made by the actual company, because then they spend a lot of time testing it, and they do a lot of stuff to make it really good. I mean, the mods made by the community are still really good standard, but still, I reckon they should have probably added something more. They might add DLC or something to this game in the future, some sort of thing that'll make it really, really fun, or some sort of expansion pack, because this game did do quite well. But yeah, but if I had to rate it, I'd only give it a 7 out of 10, mostly just because of the content it's lacking. Also, they could add a multiplayer aspect to this game. I reckon it would be fun if you could have multiple villages with your friends and then trade with them in the same map. That'd be quite fun. But yeah, but otherwise, I'm only going to give it a 7 out of 10. Yeah, if you don't agree with my opinion, or you do agree with it, drop what you thought of the game in the comments below this video. Otherwise, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. Okay guys, see ya.